Good evening. Today we return to the land of Camelot to learn how King Arthur received the sword Excalibur. King Arthur had a strong desire to battle the Black Knight once more. Merlin, I must fight again. He is by far the strongest knight I've ever encountered. Thee are indeed brave, my lord, said Merlin, to have such an appetite for battle, but seeing that thee almost died 4 days ago, how will thee prepare for battle? Thee have no sword, no spear. I must find a weapon, said King Arthur, to face death with sharp, pointy teeth. Merlin announced, There is a part of the forest which is enchanted. It's a wonderful land with a magical lake. At the center of that lake, a woman's arm appears. It holds a sword, not just an ordinary sword, but one called Excalibur. It's so named after its marvelous beauty and brightness. All knights who have seen it have wanted it. However, not one man has been able to obtain it. Whenever a man approached it, he'd sink into the lake, or the arm disappeared. Come with me, and thee shall see Excalibur with thy own eyes. After walking a bit, they saw a white rabbit with a golden collar around its neck. Let's follow that rabbit, said Merlin. It'll lead us to where we need to go. By following the rabbit, they were led to an opening in the trees. Beyond it, there was a small patch of grass. Upon this grass was a table topped with a feast. Standing near the table was a page dressed in green. The page greeted King Arthur and Merlin. Welcome to this place. Please refresh thyself before traveling on. Arthur wondered whether this might be an evil enchantment. Thee are safe here, said Merlin. Eat, drink. This feast was prepared especially for thee. Arthur and Merlin were served food on silver plates and wine and golden goblets. After they had their fill, they continued looking for the enchanted lake. About mid-afternoon, the two came upon a great plain. It was filled with more flowers than any man could count. The land appeared to be made of gold, for it was so bright and beautiful. Midway in the plain, a lake with water as bright as silver appeared. Around the lake was a splendid border of lilies and daffodils. There wasn't a single sign of human life. King Arthur knew it must be the enchanted land. As he approached the water's edge, he saw the fair and beautiful arm. Just as Merlin had promised, the arm was covered in white cloth. It held a sword of marvelous workmanship high above the water. King Arthur sat upon his horse and gazed at the motionless arm. How will I get that sword from this deep lake? Just then he noticed a strange lady walking through the flowers. Dressed all in green with crimson and gold thread woven in her hair, she was a sight to behold. Around her neck hung a beautiful necklace of opal stones and emeralds. King Arthur dismounted his horse and kneeled in front of the lady. Lady, I do think thee must be a fairy. This land is so beautiful only a fairy could live within. The lady replied, I am indeed a fairy, King Arthur. My name is Nimue. I am in charge of the ladies of the lake. My sisters and I have created a home beyond the lake. It is entirely hidden from sight. No mortal man may cross this lake or he will perish. Lady, said King Arthur, I am afraid I have intruded upon the solitude of thy home. Not so, King Arthur. Thee are welcome here. I have a great friendliness for noble knights. Thee certainly are such. But I do ask, why are thee here? King Arthur explained how he'd lost his sword in the battle with the Black Knight. Merlin told me about Excalibur. I do hope I'm worthy of it, King Arthur concluded. The Lady of the Lake smiled. That sword is hard to achieve. Many knights have lost their lives trying to get it, but I'll help thee. She lifted a single emerald necklace around her neck. The emerald was carved into a whistle. She placed it upon her lips and blew into it. A boat of carved brass appeared. It moved upon the water like a swan. The Lady of the Lake told King Arthur to enter the boat. The boat lurched forth, leaving the lady and Merlin by the water's edge. The boat raced to the arm. King Arthur reached up to the arm and took the sword in his hand. The arm let the sword go, then disappeared into the water. King Arthur's heart swelled with joy. Excalibur was 100 times more beautiful than he had thought possible. When he returned to shore, he thanked the Lady of the Lake for her help. The next day, Merlin and King Arthur arrived at the Valley of the Black Knight. Everything was exactly as they'd left it. They saw the gloomy castle, the lawn of smooth grass, the apple tree covered with shields, and the bridge where the Black Knight's shield hung. King Arthur rode his steed up to the shield and struck it with a blow. Immediately the gate of the castle fell. The Black Knight rode forth on his horse with weapon in hand. Black Knight, we now know each other well. We have our own opinions about each other. Thou feels I've driven thee to this forest and have taken away thy kingly state, but I believe thee has injured my people. This is unacceptable, so I challenge thee to fight me, man to man, until one of us has conquered the other. The Black Knight bowed and took his place at the far end of the field. Just as before, the two men rode into the middle of the field and crashed together with thundering strength. Once again, both spears splintered and were discarded. Each knight quickly jumped off his horse and drew his sword. They fell into fierce combat. Having Excalibur, King Arthur quickly overcame his enemy. He gave the Black Knight several wounds, flesh wounds. Yet he had received none himself, nor did he shed a single drop of blood. At last, King Arthur delivered such a fierce blow, the Black Knight lost his sword and shield. His armor was stained crimson. He sank to his knees and pleaded with Arthur, "Spare my life, and I will yield to thee." "I will do more than spare thy life. I will restore thee to power. You shall have thy land once again. I bear no ill will toward thee, but I can have no enemies or rebels against me. He who is against me is against my people, and he who is against my people is against me. To show thy faith in me, send me 2 of thy sons. The youngest may stay with thee as a sign of my good faith in thee. Thy 2 oldest will serve as knights in my court." With that, King Arthur took the Black Knight aside and tended to his wounds. The next morning, King Arthur and Merlin returned to the court. Arthur was in a splendid mood, thinking about his victory in Excalibur. Not only had he defeated a bitter enemy and turned him into a friend, but he also obtained a sword which no man had been able to possess. As they rode, Merlin asked, "My king, would thee rather have Excalibur or the sheath that holds it?" Arthur answered immediately, "What a question! 10,000 times would I rather have Excalibur." "Thou art wrong, my lord," said Merlin as he shook his head. "Excalibur is so strong that it can cut a bar of iron in 2, that's true, but a sheath is of greater power. He who wears it can suffer no wound in battle, nor lose a single drop of blood." King Arthur's eyes told Merlin that he did not believe his words. "It is true," assured Merlin. "Think to thy battle with the Black Knight. Thou suffered no wound, no blood flowed from thy body." King Arthur was angry. "Thou hast taken my battle glory from me. What good is conquering an enemy if it's done by magic?" "Keep in mind that thee are not an ordinary knight," said Merlin. "Thou art a king, and thy life belongs to thy people. Thou must do all thee can to preserve it for them. Thou must keep that sword so it can safeguard thy life at all times." King Arthur knew Merlin was wise. Once again he bowed to Merlin's wisdom. "I'll keep both Excalibur and the sheath to preserve my life. Nevertheless, I'll never again use them in battle." King Arthur remained true to his word. From that day forward, he used a lance on horseback. And so, that is the tale of Excalibur and the magic sheath. Till next time.